For some players, the crushing difficulty of a video game is the entire point. Completing games to 100% or higher, whether there's a valuable reward for doing so or not, brings a sense of satisfaction. Sometimes there is more to it though, and a secret ending dangles as the carrot on the end of the gaming stick for some of the medium's most impossible challenges. Of course, with these hidden concluding scenes being either too difficult or too obscure to achieve, most players have simply never seen them. I'm Josh from WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 secret video game endings nobody saw. Number 10. Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time, the 106% ending. Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time went to great pains to evoke the spirit of the original trilogy of titles, and this extended to the amount of punishing collectibles involved. There are crystals, gems, and relics galore in the new game, and for the very best ending, the player will need to acquire absolutely all of them. 106% completion is the goal here, which means that every platinum time trial relic and platinum flashback relic, every gem of every sort, all of those pesky crates, and everything beyond must be all acquired. It is a hell of a lot of stuff, and as a result, even series veterans like myself gave up long before unlocking the best ending. But what is this reward for 106% completion, I hear you ask? Well, it's a very, very brief scene, in fact it's only 20 seconds or so, that sees Cortex relaxing on a beach before hearing a foreboding laugh and seeing Uka Uka emerge from the shadows. It's quick, but this hint at a potential sequel made all the suffering worth it, so please, Activision, just make it happen. Number 9. Luigi's Mansion, the worst ending and the 10th mansion. In Luigi's Mansion, its 3DS remake, and Luigi's Mansion 3, a player's ending rank is determined by how much money they manage to acquire over the course of the game. As fans will know, currency literally rains down on Luigi throughout these games, hidden in every possible nook and cranny of each area and room. So to achieve an S-rank ending available in the 3DS only, Luigi will have to hoard enough treasure to total 130 million G. This requires meticulous searching and the use of almost every possible gold source in the game, but the reward is a suitably luxurious mansion for Luigi at the end. Perhaps even more difficult than this though is achieving the opposite, that being a H rank, which sees the mansion disappear entirely and Luigi left with nothing more than a tent for his troubles. This requires the player to collect just 5,000 to 4,999,999 G. Many players wouldn't even think to do this though, and even less would have the discipline to actively avoid those sweet cascades of loot for the whole game. Number 8. Ghosts and Goblins, the true, badly translated ending. The iconic Ghosts and Goblins has a special place in many gamers' hearts. The deviously challenging original first released in September 1985, and fit right in with the super difficult standards of video games at the time. I mean, anything to keep the players pumping those coins into the arcade machines, am I right? As a result, checkpoints are few and far between, and the fiendish level design is seemingly cut from the same cloth as the Mega Man series. As a result, few players will have what it takes to defeat the multiple taxing boss battles against Satan himself. Those who somehow did, however, found that the game had pulled its cruelest trick of all, a simple text box appearing at the end that states that the whole experience was an illusion and that the game would have to be played all over again to actually complete it and see the real ending in which the princess is freed. It's a good ending, but hey, all you've got to do is go through the gaming equivalent of being kicked in the teeth to actually get it. Number 7. Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator, the Certificate of Insanity ending. The Five Nights at Freddy's franchise has a wealth of fascinating lore to offer, either hidden away or presented in separate media to the games themselves. It's no surprise then that the series' games offer their fair share of surprising hidden endings. One of the most obscure is found in Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator, aka Five Nights at Freddy's 6, although it's unlikely even the staunchest of fans stumble across it without a guide. To unlock the so-called Insanity ending, the player needs to buy the Egg Baby from the catalogue in the Rare Finds auction section and add it to their restaurant. They must then switch off their PC while working their next shift and hit the now blue button beneath its monitor. Hitting the power on the PC again will unlock some special images and audio, rewarding the player with the Certificate of Insanity upon completion of the game. Number 6. Super Mario Odyssey, the disappointing non-ending for collecting 999 Power Moons. Between the sprawling Super Mario 64-esque stages and the new capture mechanic, Super Mario Odyssey is bright, bold, and relentlessly entertaining, even if it doesn't particularly innovate plot-wise. Yes, the player is once again defeating Bowser and rescuing Princess Peach, but this time, there aren't power stars or shines to collect along the way, but actually power moons to power the Odyssey. As usual, only a fraction of them are necessary to see the regular ending, but for completionists, well, they get the not at all time-wasting task of tracking down 999 of them. And the reward for this absurd, grindy, busywork-laden feat, well, it's a fireworks display and a gigantic hat atop Peach's castle. Collecting 883 moons, that being every one that isn't purchasable, nets the player a more challenging Bowser battle, a golden Odyssey, and a quick glimpse of a special postcard, which, to be fair, in itself was kinda disappointing enough. Number 5, Tetris. The original ending it actually does have, surprisingly. Needless to say, the face of Tetris has changed dramatically since the game's first appearance. I mean, who could have imagined that the internet would one day enable the absurd battle royale experience that is Tetris 99? Some might call it the end of culture, but I'm not one of them. However many different versions of the title have seen release over the years though, they've all had one crucial thread in common, that being, generally speaking, there's no ending as such. It's just the player and all of those little shapes forever and ever. This isn't always the case though. Shocking as it may be, the Game Boy port of Tetris features an ending cutscene after level 9. The brief primitive clip sees a happy band playing a jaunty tune before the scene switches to a rocket taking off. After that, the player's score is collated and Bob's your uncle. Those who grew up after the Game Boy era probably never got to see this odd little slice of history though. Number 4, Hollow Knight. The Embrace the Void ending. Those dedicated Hollow Knight fans among us who completed the aptly named Path of Pain may have thought that they were prepared for anything the game could throw at them after this. However, those dastardly developers had a final ultimate challenge in store for the game's last big update. The Godmaster expansion added a series of pantheons, that being challenging boss rush mini-modes. Benches here are few and far between, and defeat would see the player have to start over. To achieve the Embrace the Void ending then, fans would have to defeat Ultimate Radiance, the final boss of the 5th and last pantheon. It's an incredible gauntlet simply to get to this battle, which is generally agreed to be amongst the very hardest in the game, if not simply the most difficult ever. Even Hollow Knight veterans have completely given up trying to get this ending and just resorted to watching it online. Number 3, Hades. The true ending, or rather, epilogue. As Hades' legion of fans will probably know, when Zagreus finally defeats his father Hades and escapes the underworld, that's only the beginning of the adventure. To reach the true ending of Supergiant Games' magnificent roguelike, it's necessary for Zagreus to break through to meet his mother Persephone on 10 separate occasions. On doing so, Persephone will return to the underworld, making the trip along with her son as the end credits roll. Even after all of this though, the player hasn't still truly completed the narrative. I mean, why make things simple at this point, right? Well, the next task after this is to forge closer bonds with both the freshly returned Queen of the Underworld and Zagreus' Olympian relatives. Each god has a different favour to satisfy before this bond can be maximised, and only on doing so and fulfilling various other conditions can Persephone's plans to unite the dysfunctional family come to fruition. There's a lot of RNG and busy work between players and the conclusion of the epilogue, meaning that even those who have invested dozens and dozens of hours probably haven't finished this new objective. Number 2, Cyberpunk 2077, the most difficult ending. Cyberpunk 2077 was of course one of the most anticipated, but also one of the most controversial releases of 2020. The intriguing narrative of the game offers numerous possible outcomes for main character V and the rest of the cast. Needless to say then, eager players soon set about discovering the requirements for each and how they would impact the journey. Many fans would probably agree that the most difficult ending to acquire here is the one unlocked by maintaining a great relationship with Johnny and waiting momentarily when it comes time for that decision to be made at the end. Here, Johnny will suggest that V attempts to storm Arasaka Corp single-handedly. Inside, naturally, are some of the most heavily armed foes in the game. And there's another important stipulation here too, that being that the player will not be able to continue if they're defeated, so the stakes are mighty high, my friends. Let's just hope a glitch doesn't get you killed in this stretch, eh? Number 1, Payday 2. One of the most fiendishly hidden secret endings in history. Payday 2 is far from the most narrative-heavy title. The game revolves around a series of high-profile heists that the player must pull off with a bunch of other people, essentially being a first-person shooter experience with some rather sophisticated stealth mechanics laid on top. The game's story, such as it is, leaves a number of loose ends after Dallas and the rest of the gang salute Bane at his graveside. For more closure than this, the player will have to attain the secret ending, which is notoriously obscure and tough to access. In order to unlock this ending, which reveals more about the White House heist and Bane's potential true fate, players will first need to unlock the 3 coffers, the obsidian plate, and the medallion trophies. After that, a complex puzzle involving the safe house medallion, shooting Scarface's piano in a very specific place, and deciphering some befuddling riddles needs to also be completed. And that's just the preliminary work too. During the White House heist, more precise work and code cracking needs to be completed by blowing a hole in a wall, for instance, which can only be done if the previous conditions were also met. Most players are unaware that this ending even exists, let alone how to achieve it. So that's our list. I want some of you guys think down in the comments below. Are there any endings I've missed off here that you think nobody will have ever got? And are there a few of you out there that managed to stumble on these? Let us know, and while you're down there, can you give us a like, share, subscribe, and head over to WhatCulture Gaming for more great lists and news like this every single day. Even if you don't though, I've been Josh. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.